Welcome to NHA Today, where we explore the path to lasting health and fulfillment through a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Each week, we bring you real conversations with doctors, health experts, and everyday individuals who've transformed their lives through food, mindset, and community. This is NHA Today, powered by the National Health Association.
Hi, Dr. Kendra. Thank you so much for being a guest on the National Health Association podcast. I can't wait to talk to you today about nutrition alongside adrenal health and hormone support and just burnout in general.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about this more.
I know this is your wheelhouse, so this is gonna be so much fun. So first, would love to just have you dive into a little bit about yourself, what it is that you do daily for people, and just, yeah, a little bit about who you are and like what brought you to doing this every day to help others live a healthier life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a chiropractor, and I work in Newport Beach or Costa Mesa, but I got more into hormone health and diving into nutrition a lot more because as a chiropractor, I realized that a lot of your structural health has to do with your hormone health and what you're eating and even like emotions and how that affects your structure. So then I kind of went that way because I had a history of all sorts of adrenal fatigue and hormones being out of whack. So I basically just learned how to help myself. And then, of course, I've like attracted a lot more of that type of patient base into my practice. Yeah, so I kind of do, it's all encompassing. We affect structure, chemical health, and emotional health in my practice. And this is just something that I see so often. It's so common, as I know, like you also deal with that, I'm sure, in your practice with mold and mast cell activation. Like this is really tied into so many different health conditions. So that's why I wanted to make sure I knew how to treat and help people in this way. Yeah.
Definitely. No, I love how you have kind of that all encompassing like practice where you're not just looking at things like structurally, but you're thinking like hormonally, chemically, like how is this all tied together? Because everything is in constant communication in the body and we can't just separate things out. And so I love that you do kind of combine that. I can't wait to dive into that. But first, yeah, you said that this has been kind of the patient base that you've been attracting. So I'm curious then, why do you think that burnout and adrenal fatigue and just chronic fatigue in general is really common like in today's world?
Oh man. Yeah, well, social media, it's that go, go, go mentality. I constantly need to be doing more. The stress of COVID didn't help anyone. I've seen like it's gotten so much worse, after that. I think people's immune systems aren't as strong as they used to be based on, like how we've been taught to handle infections or with all the hand sanitizer, like no one's getting dirty anymore. There's
Mhm.
just so many things that can cause your body to be under stress with more infections, more mental stress. Yeah, I just think it's this, yeah, people like never feel like they're doing enough. People always feel like they need to do more, and then they're like pushing themselves without realizing how much they're depleting themselves.
Yeah.
um so yeah, then they end up with burnout. But with that, like I said, there's these like chronic infections. I think a lot of people don't realize that they have an underlying chronic infection, and that's also causing them to have this like adrenal burnout. So that's a big one. Honestly, I see that a lot.
So can you describe then, like, so people listening right now, they're like, okay, yes, I feel constantly stressed. I know that I'm always on the go. Like I use caffeine and I use all these different things and social media, and these things just stimulate me because I need to just like get through the day. Like that's just the whole goal,
Yeah.
getting through the day. So what are then some of like the common symptoms that you might see? Because now someone's probably listening and like, okay, this sounds similar to the way I think. So what might be some symptoms that you typically see in people that are dealing with that like kind of adrenal fatigue or like burnout situation?
Yeah. So it's so funny. Some of these patients, like I just had one yesterday, they know they're strung out. They're like, I'm type A, blah, 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 and they're just like, it's like they can't even stop talking sometimes, right? Like they can't even take a breath. So if that's you, you probably are like already on either on your way or you're at burnout.
Yeah.
You're highly irritable. You maybe are having like GI upset.
Mm-hmm.
You're not digesting well. You're not sleeping well. Well, there's different phases, so we can talk about that. Like some people just knock out, and that's a different phase of adrenal exhaustion. But a lot of people, like they'll have a hard time falling asleep, and then they also have a hard time staying asleep. Like they're going to wake up throughout the night. Maybe you're feeling anxiety, depression. You feel your heart kind of, flutter more. You're easily startled. You maybe you're struggling with infertility. Maybe you have irregular cycles. There's so many symptoms involved. And then for structural based symptoms, the ones I see most often are sciatic pain, pelvic misalignment, low back pain, tight hip flexors, like quad dominance, even like upper trap tightness is associated, gastroc calf tightness. There's a lot of things, or even like swelling in the legs, because if you have a tight adductor, which can also be associated with this, then you're not having like proper lymphatic flow and drainage up the leg. So those are a few.
I know it's kind of like all encompassing. There could be different ways. Everyone's just different and how it might like be affecting them differently. But something I've always found so cool and interesting when you and I have just gotten together, because a side note, Dr. Kendra and I are pretty close friends. We went to school together. So is hearing about how you'll be assessing somebody who's coming in just to see you for structural support. And then you will say, well, maybe something's off with your cortisol or your adrenal support or something like that. And instead of just doing, the adjustment or the muscle work or this or that, you're actually giving the support tied to helping them chemically, helping them hormonally. And then that is what relieves that, whatever it is, the sciatica, the tight glute pain, the tight adductors, the tight hip flexors, whatever it is that you originally found, which I have found so fascinating. And that how it's not just like everything is just so connected. So I think that's so cool that that's something that you're addressing too, because that's really important to have that all-encompassing approach. And you did mention the different phases. I'd actually love to just hear a little bit more about that. I know we chatted about that recently, which I found super interesting. So could you kind of dive into the different phase approach?
Yes, I can. I love talking about this stuff. Like, yes, let's go. Okay, so, and this is where I love talking about this because I'm all for people helping themselves, like they're going online, they're trying to find health information, but sometimes like, they're just trying different supplements and like throwing darts, like hoping something's going to stick and work for them. Then they don't like give it enough time to work. They try it like for one bottle and they're like, well, I didn't do anything for me. And like, their dosage may not be right, which is why, like, once again, I'm not trying to say, of course, I want people to be able to help themselves, but there is a lot of benefit to working with someone to help you properly dose. Anyway, okay. So with that, so there's like 3 different phases of adrenal exhaustion. So first is like, you're in a car accident. You have that like scared response. Your body, if it is, I'm going to say functioning properly, should have that cortisol response and then go down like fairly soon after that. And then you're like back to your like home base. You're back to your steady state. Then phase 2 is where a lot of people hang out. And that's the thing about like diagnosing this stuff is people teeter between these levels because your body's constantly trying to go back to find home base, right? Or like homeostasis, whatever you want to call it. So phase 2 is if you were in the car accident, you're on your way to work, it's a car accident where you can still drive your car and you can work, you're super stressed out at work. Then your boyfriend or significant other texts you and says something stressful to you. Then you go take a HIIT class, on your lunch break. Then you have your afternoon coffee because you kind of have, you're like dipping in your energy levels or you're, reaching for some sweets. And really like your cortisol levels never really got back to normal because you keep having all these stressors happening to leave it elevated. So that's phase 2. And your body will at that point, like, so when you're looking at different labs, it'll still fluctuate. It's not like it's constantly high.
Okay.
And that's what's kind of tough about this. People like want this like concrete thing. It's like your body is trying to find its home base again. But the phase 2 is typically like, oh, I'm like, woo, I'm cortisol driven. And then, but then you'll have these like ups and downs. And then phase 3 is like, you have been pushing cortisol for so long. And because your body needs all different nutrients, which we'll talk about, to create cortisol, your body doesn't have like an endless amount of these nutrients in the body for, enzyme processes like catalysts to then create more hormones. So then you are freaking bottomed out. And you'll see this a lot with like moms going through postpartum, because they just had all this stress on their body, huge surge of hormones, and then they'll just bottom out and like all their labs will just show low levels of everything. Yeah.
That's so
I can talk about symptoms too, if that helps a little bit more.
Oh, what was that?
I said I can also talk about symptoms.
I think that would be helpful too, just to kind of hear some of the symptoms of that. But I can but I from what you told me, it sounds like, that first phase is where, just to kind of put it all together, is where people are, it's a kind of a normal response where it's like maybe you have the cortisol like spike like we should, but then you just go back to home base, you're good, you can make it through the day, you don't need that afternoon coffee, you don't need that HIIT class to keep going, like you can kind of make it through that second phase. And like you said, you can kind of work your way through the different phases, but you're kind of constantly just like cortisol, constant like spike and surges and things like that. And then the third phase sounds almost just like complete teetered out, like your body is done. So are there any other specific symptoms related to those?
Yeah. So I like, just to like summarize, and really you can treat like a phase 1 and phase 2 the same, even though like I'm saying in that phase 1, it's this cortisol response, but let's say you get easily stressed by things like 5 times a day, but come back to regulation versus like the constant cortisol stress all day in like a phase 2. So in phase 2, you are starting to deplete your body because you're trying to find your home base, and then 3, you're just completely depleted. So that's what I like to think. So 3 is so 3 usually you're like having a hard time waking up in the morning, you're fatigued in the morning. You usually can sleep pretty well though. Like your body's so fatigued, you're like, oh no, I pass out. Like I need to go to bed. Okay. But then there's other, like if you're not getting your period though, and your other hormones are super bottomed out, right? Like in a depleted phase, then you can also call yourself in phase 3. Not unless you can call yourself phase 3, but and maybe some of these people who like have low estrogen, have low progesterone, like they're not having a normal cycle, they're struggling with infertility, they still may like have some energy to go about their day, like they don't even realize how, I'm going to say like dysfunctional they are until it's like, well, no, we know you're low hormone because you're not even making enough to have a healthy cycle. So you could also put that person in a phase 3.
It's crazy how sometimes we just, as humans, we just adjust to our new normal too. So like, right, we just are like in that phase of whatever it is, whatever you're going through, but it's what you've been used to, even though it's not normal, right? But we normalize it because everyone else is going through a lot of this stuff too, right? So it's like, you're tired, I'm tired. Okay.
I will say this real quick, because I actually think it's a little relatable. I think that's like you and me during chiropractic school. We were absolutely just operating at this very abnormal, what we were calling it normal. We were constantly stressed out, and then we were taking so many spin classes, and then caffeine to get by. For me, I think I was the candy girl. You were a little healthier than I was, but I'm just like doing anything to give myself some energy, this quick little boost. And I didn't really even realize like how dysfunctional I was until I got out of school. I was like, whoa, that was bad. you know? So,
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. It's so true. It happens to us too.
yeah.
We're not perfect. We've all been there.
Oh no, yeah.
So,
Chiro school is anyway. Yeah.
I know that you're big into foundational support, which is why I really wanted to bring you on this podcast because I think it's so easy for many practitioners and people to like skip the foundation and just try to go straight into the supplements or straight into like the next expensive thing they can use to make themselves feel better, as opposed to just maybe utilizing nutrition or nervous system work and all those things. And of course, supplements and other things have their place and rightfully do, but love
Yes.
to hear a little bit about how big you think like somebody's diet like may play a role, and do you love incorporating like a plant forward diet or like focus on like fruits and vegetables and optimal protein and fats, as well as all those beautiful things to help somebody alongside focusing on getting themselves better from dealing with kind of that fatigue and adrenal burnout?
Yeah, absolutely. So normally when I am addressing nutrition with someone, what, athletes, whoever it is, I always try to tell them aim for 3 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a lot. And a serving's like a handful. And like the faces I get, like that seems like so much to people. They're like, what?
Wow.
Like, no, seriously, it'll help. Like that's what you need to focus on. Cause I think everyone these days are pretty good. Like we've protein, like protein. We've dialed that in. I think people know how important protein is.
Yeah.
So usually that's not the issue as much anymore. It's getting people to go back and have fruits and vegetables, add that in. And it's super important because when you're making cortisol, your body gets depleted of vitamin B. Vitamin C is like the biggest one because that's where majority of your vitamin C is stored, is within the adrenal glands. Magnesium, zinc, B6, B5, iron, copper, and magnesium. So all those things, sodium, potassium, all those things are utilized in order to like make cortisol, or they're part of like the process, to make it. Basically, it's not like everything directly goes into that, but for different enzymatic processes to make your hormone for that pathway. So anyway, so getting those with a plant-based diet is actually like I said, I tend to lean more that way because people are so big on protein now, no matter if they're eating plant-based or animal-based. I always say get your fruits and vegetables in, try to aim for 5 servings.
And that diversity is going to help then get more of those vitamins, minerals, and supports that you're mentioning that are really important as well, which I love. So out of curiosity, and totally okay if you don't have an answer to this, but are there any specific foods, like you're telling people to incorporate like the 3 to 5 servings? Like, are there any specific like foods that you've found that you're just like, this contains maybe a lot of vitamin C or this or that you can like help people to like focus on, at least to help incorporate into their diet?
Yeah, absolutely. So the vitamin C, it's like bell peppers, kiwi, Brussels sprouts, strawberries, sweet potatoes too. Yeah, broccoli, citrus fruits, obviously. I'll even just have, like, I really like it when patients start with lemon water on an empty stomach in the mornings. And then if I think they need even more vitamin C, I'm like, just sip on lemon water throughout the day. Like, like when you feel fatigued, start your day with that. Because first of all, it'll just help digestion. Then you get that little boost of vitamin C. And then let's say they have that afternoon fatigue, because like minerals and things are very important for adrenal health too. Then you can just add like some sea salt or whatever, minerals to a lemon water later, and that gives you a little boost.
I love how much you can do just with like foundational supports alone, like getting that in, and with like those fruits and veggies that you're mentioning, which happen to literally be all my favorite foods that I eat like almost daily. So I love that they're rich in vitamin C, but it's like they are synergistically working with other things like fiber and all this stuff that is like so beneficial for you. So yeah, I love that you're so forward with incorporating the foundational supports. And on that topic, what are some other supports that you're recommending to like me, like from a foundational perspective and from anything else as well that you find to be really helpful for your patients dealing with this?
Yeah. So we I think we kind of touched on it already, but some people who tend to be adrenally fatigued, they do love their caffeine because they need it, to get themselves
Yep.
going.
Yep.
I usually tell people if you feel so tired that you need your caffeine in the morning, that is a clear indicator that you need to do something else to support yourself, because you just keep depleting yourself when you do that,
Yeah.
right? So, especially when I just said like minerals and things are super important for adrenal health as well. And also, you'll get that push of cortisol with the caffeine. So, we don't want to do that exactly. I mean, obviously, there's better times of day to have caffeine, but I usually tell people to dial it back,
Yeah.
because that helps a ton. And then, I mean, I do supplemental supports as well. I don't know if you want to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, alongside the supplemental support, I actually was wondering if, maybe before we dive into that, I was wondering if, what about nervous system regulation? Is that something that
Oh,
would be really helpful
yes.
too? Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yes. So yeah, in my practice, we do cranial sacral work,
Okay.
and that basically the nerves coming out of your cranium and cervical spine, and then way down like the base of your spine control your parasympathetic nervous system. So for people listening, like maybe finding a practitioner near them that can help address those things. Like I know you see an osteopath too, and they'll focus on this cranial work, because if there's any nerve tension in those areas, then that can also affect how your system is operating. Uh, Obviously, you and I both love meditation. That's huge. I know a lot of people struggle with meditation. Usually, the people that struggle the most need to do it the most. If you can't sit with yourself for 5 minutes, yeah, like that, we gotta figure that out somehow. I usually tell people if they can't do that, start by listening to some sort of recording, that walks them through it, or like some sort of hypnosis recording, whatever, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Everyone has a different starting point. That's super key. Breath work, really key. That can help too. That's another place to start. Some of my patients have felt a little overwhelmed with like that very aggressive breathing, almost like the Wim Hof breathing, and I'm forgetting the other name if you recall, but it's like the box breathing, but it's
Yeah. I don't
this
know
like
that.
quick, I don't know, but it's kind of Wim Hof like, and that actually has made some of my patients anxious. So if that makes you anxious, then you can just try to slow down and do more like box breathing. Obviously getting good sleep is super important. If we're talking about like foundational, I'm like forgetting all that. Yeah, going to bed, get in bed at 9 o'clock. Like try to get 9 to 10 hours of sleep. I know that sounds like a ton. That's going to help you so much. Don't late night scroll where it's affecting your sleep. Don't watch something that's going to amp you up. Maybe change the time of day that you're working out. Don't go to your workout class at like 6 p.m., let your body rest and heal. And then you can, adjust like your workout schedule maybe accordingly. But some people get really amped up after they work out, and then it's affecting their sleep too. Like limiting alcohol consumption can help, especially like later in the evening if it's keeping you up and you're getting up to go to the bathroom all night. What else?
Yeah, no, those are all really good. Really good. Yeah, I'm glad that we touched on the nervous system support because, yeah, I feel like across the board, it's just like in my patient client base as well, it's just, it all really comes back to being able to try to re-regulate there. So, no, I'm glad we talked about that. And the last question I want to ask you before I let you go is, so people listening now, they're like, wow, this really sounds like me. Obviously, I need like support. So whether they're able to work with you or they're not in California, so they can't work with you, but they're, in other places or wherever, what are like some labs people can consider to look into? And then again, you did talk about the supplemental support, and obviously this is not medical advice for anybody, but maybe based off labs, like and then what your findings are, like what are some supplemental supports that you've seen also be like helpful for people?
Yeah. Okay. So, there's a few things. So Dutch test, I really like. There's a Dutch complete test, which will still give you a lot of information. There's one test missing from it. It's a salivary cortisol test in the morning. It still gives you a lot of information though if you don't get the Dutch plus, which is what I'm talking about with that extra saliva test.
Okay.
So, but if you're wanting to test like cortisol specifically, I would say get the Dutch plus. You're still going to get all the other information. You're just paying a little bit more, and you're going to get that extra salivary test in the morning, and that shows how your body is basically handling stress like right off the bat. Because with the Dutch test, it's urine metabolites. So having that extra saliva test in the morning is showing you what's happening in real time, not like a metabolized version to, you know, like later, because it's you're basically taking urine samples. So you're only looking at like from the last time you peed to this other time, what's happened in that window. So if you add that saliva test in the morning, then you're getting like a real-time response. Not saying that the urine metabolites are not helpful. They're very helpful, but I would say just do the Dutch plus. So in addition to that, you can, well, so, you know, you would do that. You look at your symptoms too, right? You have to piece it all together. Or blood test, you can test for nutrient deficiencies, like that list that I had, you know, put out. And I don't even know, like, if you guys do show notes or something for this, but I'm happy to send you, like, I don't know how this works, but happy to do that so people can get those things tested. But for the, you know, the people who feel super depleted, a lot of times they'll get blood work done and they'll see all their hormone levels are bottomed out even on that blood test. And you can pretty much guarantee that there's some issue there. And then you would once again think you're in like phase 3. And then I'll talk about in a second, like how to support that. And then, but to be honest, when you're doing these phase 1, phase 2, whatever, phase 3, you really do go a lot off of symptoms unless you're really bottomed out hormonally. Okay. And then that's phase 3. What else? Yeah. Oh, and then another thing too. So I was saying how chronic infections can cause adrenal stress and cause your body to secrete more cortisol. So you may also want to get different viral markers checked, or even just looking at a CBC with differentials. And you can look at your white blood cell counts, your monocytes, your neutrophils, whatever. A lot of times I'll see like elevated monocytes, usually over 7. Neutrophils would be like over, the range is 40 to 60, be over 60. And then once again, for people who may have been like dealing with something chronic, then your white blood cell count in general could be very low. There's a lot of different things that go into it, but I think probably to keep it simple, Dutch plus would be like, I'd say like a good starting point for people. And then your practitioner can go over that with you and help you, you know, pick the right direction. So with that, if you're phase 3, this is where a lot of people come into my office and they're in a phase 3 and then they were supplemented incorrectly. So they weren't given a glandular support. So that's like bovine, like adrenal cortex, and like just part of the adrenal gland itself to help like rebuild and repair, I'm going to say like the damage that's been done. That can get you feeling better so fast. Like when you get that right support in your system, which is going to be tough for you to get through food, like you can't really get that through food. That makes a world of difference for someone who's super depleted. That also, I believe, I don't think you can get it without a practitioner writing that, like I'm going to say prescription for you. I don't believe. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. Oh, wait, no. If someone has a full script count, anyways. So glandular support for phase 3. And then phase 2, that's when everyone has like heard about this. It's the adaptogen support. We love our adaptogens. So adaptogens are herbs that help your body adapt to stress. So that's like a lemon balm, holy basil, rhodiola, ashwagandha. Like people love ashwagandha. And then making sure you're getting optimal vitamin C for pretty much all phases.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah.
Vitamin C help no matter what. Yeah. Like I think people overlook that. And it's like, no, you could really high dose that. Especially if you're in that like chronic infection area too. Like you want to make sure you're getting optimal vitamin C.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all that. That's like incredible information. So that being said, is there anything else that you wanted to leave the audience with? And then where can people also find you? Like if they just wanted to look up the information you put out on social media, or they wanted to work with you, like, so where can people find you?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I just think for this stuff, because a lot of people I think have tried, like I said, different supports, and they're like, oh, it just didn't work for me, or whatever. It's simple and it is complicated at the same time. So don't give up, like if you tried a bottle of whatever supplement and it didn't do much for you, sometimes you have to take these supports for like 8 months to a year, depending on where you're at. And I had to do that. I had to take a glandular support for like 8 months. I was so depleted. And then I had to switch to a phase 2. So people don't understand that either. It's like, you don't just take this one thing and then you're good. Like sometimes you do have to transition and support yourself still for longer. So working with someone is helpful for that. But don't give up and think that, So having this knowledge that we're talking about today, hopefully is helpful. And then to find me for things that I post on Instagram, I'm aligned with Dr. Kendra. And then I have a website, which is Kendra.com. And I'm on TikTok, but I don't really use it. So I don't need to mention that one. I'm not even sure what the name is of that one. So, but that's how you can find me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kendra. This was super informative. I know so many people are going to get so much good information from this. This was definitely helpful. So thanks for going into a lot of detail for everybody here and for myself too. I always learn stuff when I talk with you. So great chatting with you. Thanks again for being a guest.
Yes. Thank you, Steph. This is fun.
Thank you for joining us on the NHA Today podcast. Subscribe and follow the National Health Association on YouTube and social media for the latest in plant-based science and healthy lifestyle support. For more resources, articles, and information about our membership and conference, visit healthscience.org. Until next time, here's to your plant-powered health.